month of declines. There is a bit of breathing room for dairy lovers, with milk cheaper than last year, though cheese continues to defy the trend. On the property front, rentals rose increases that still lag behind inflation. Fuel prices were relatively steady, but festive season travel hit hard, with long-distance bus fares jumping sharply in the last month. For many households, the reality is that what you buy, not the average, determines how far your money goes. Monkey Zikoko, Eyewitness News.
As the country continues to mourn the tragic deaths of 12 learners in a scholar transport accident in the south of Johannesburg, President Cyril Ramaphosa says no parent should ever have to lose a child in such a manner. The learners lost their lives on Monday after the minibus transport they were travelling in collided with a truck in Vanderbijl Park. Preliminary investigations indicate the 22-year-old driver was attempting to overtake on a narrow road when the crash occurred. Addressing the basic education Lekgotla in Boksburg today, Ramaphosa extended his condolences to the families of the deceased learners. Alpha Ramushana is there.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says it is hard to imagine what the parents of the 12 deceased children are going through as they continue to mourn the loss of their little ones.
And we wish those who were injured in the crash a speedy recovery. Children are not meant to be buried by their parents. Or children must bury their parents, rather.
Ramaphosa adds that government must draw lessons from the fatal crash.
We cannot accept that young lives are put at risk in such a horrific way as they seek the growth and enrichment that an education should provide them.
Meanwhile, the families of the 12 children say nothing can ever erase the pain that they now have to bear. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News at the Birchwood Hotel in Boksburg.
The Human Settlements Department says it has started building temporary units to house residents of Limpopo and Mpumalanga displaced by flooding. As the rains subside, the country is dealing with the aftermath of the severe storms that killed 18 people in Limpopo and 20 in Mpumalanga. 6 people remain missing. The Human Settlements Minister, Thembi Smelane, has provided an update on the damage caused by the floods. Khomotso Modise has more.
Over 1,900 houses have been damaged in the deadly Limpopo floods and more than 1,800 others in Mpumalanga. In a briefing this morning, Human Settlements Minister Thembi Smelane said affected residents have been moved from mass care centres, which include community halls and churches, to temporary emergency accommodation in the form of B&Bs and lodges. She says they will now be building temporary residential units.
With the following numbers which have already been concluded based on the availability of land. We are dealing with about 73 in Bushbuck Ridge. We are accommodating 5 in Bloberg. We are accommodating 13 in Makado.
The department is still conducting a verification process to confirm the residential details and identities of the flood victims. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
In the Western Cape, strong winds continue to hamper firefighting efforts in the Cape Winelands as the fire rages on for a 5th day, with several fire lines actively burning in the mountains above Franschhoek. Wind speeds of up to 80 kilometers per hour grounded water-bombing choppers when a sudden flare-up occurred in the Three Streams Farm area yesterday. The municipality's Joanne Otto says fire crews remain on high alert due to hot weather conditions expected today.
Fire services report that while no injuries, loss of life or structural damage has been recorded, some equipment was damaged during the sudden flare-up last night. The incident management team has expressed concern that firefighters and ground crews will continue to face extremely challenging conditions due to predicted hot weather combined with strong wind.
In the National Assembly, former Independent Police Investigative Directorate head Robert McBride has denied having any close links to forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan and says he only met him when he was appointed as the head of the police watchdog in 2014. But McBride acknowledges that O'Sullivan had expert knowledge in identifying fraud as well as forensic analysis and used him as a sounding board for information. McBride has been accused of working with O'Sullivan to target certain senior police officials and interfering in police operations. McBride is continuing his evidence before the Parliamentary ad hoc committee investigating police corruption today.
I've known him since 2014 when I was appointed to IPID, and I met him in response to his provocation about what IPID's predecessor had done to him.
He admits that O'Sullivan tried to overstep the mark by inserting himself in police matters.
On 2 occasions, I thought he was overstepping the line, and I brought him to order. I don't know his relationships with SAPS.
And Cape Town's newest Freedom of the City recipient, David Kramer, used the occasion to mix humour with pointed reflection. The musician, playwright and cultural chronicler's work has documented the lives and humour of ordinary Capetonians for decades. Kayleen Morgan has the story.
The Freedom of the City, Cape Town's highest civic honour, has its roots in ancient tradition, once granting trusted citizens special privileges within city walls. At City Hall last night, Kramer leaned into that history, jokingly asking Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis for modern-day freedoms, including free parking, grazing rights for his sheep on Greenpoint Common, and permission for his ostriches to roam freely through the company garden. He also used the moment to question the symbols that occupy prominent public spaces, calling for a new statue outside the Slave Lodge that better reflects the spirit of the city.
That the statue we should erect in Cape Town is a statue of a man beating the Kuma drum. It's that way. Even when the wind isn't blowing, you can still feel the heartbeat of this city.
Kramer said the honour carries special meaning, being awarded alongside his longtime collaborator and friend, the late Lee Peterson, whose influence continues to shape the city's cultural life. Kayleen Morgan, Eyewitness News, Cape Town.
Gold's trading at $4,866.47 an ounce. The rand's at 16.33 to the dollar, at 21.91 to the pound, at 19.12 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $64.15 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, traffic is looking pretty good throughout Gauteng as well as the mother city. Otherwise, look out for those faulty traffic lights in Polshof at Witkoppen in Maine. And in Cape Town, traffic lights still not working in Philippi at the R300 and Jacques Gerwel.
Look at your weather. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures are peaking at highs of 25 and 26 degrees. In the mother city, it's clear skies there with strong southeasterly winds at a high of 31 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: consumer price inflation has ticked up by a percentage point, rising to 3.6% in December from 3.5% in November.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. 702 on 92.7 and 106 FM.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
and on DSTV channel 856.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. Very good afternoon to you. I am Jane Dutton. I was just thinking about South Africa today. Children locked out or can't access classrooms while leaders meet to talk about education. Families fleeing their homes because zamazamas rule the ground beneath them. Towns like Knysna staring down empty taps. And floods in Limpopo and Mpumalanga leaving behind malaria risks and broken health systems. Add political accountability battles in Parliament and deadly failures in scholar transport. You can start to see the promises, the patterns, big promises, real consequences, and how we are paying the price. So for the next hour, we're asking where systems are failing and who's accountable. And as always, I want to hear from you. 072 702 1702 or 072 567 1567.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
People have died, homes have been destroyed, lives shattered in Limpopo and Mpumalanga, all because of the recent heavy rains and floods and crumbling infrastructure. Today we're hearing about what help is available, what measures need to be put in place to make sure we never see this scale. Human Settlements Minister has been briefing the media on several matters, including the recent floods. Kgomotso Modise, EWN reporter, is there. Kgomotso, what's been said?
Well, Jane, the Human Settlements Minister, Thembi Nkadimeng, really just painting a picture on the work that Human Settlements has to do in flood-stricken Limpopo and Mpumalanga. She's given some numbers about, the severity of the impact, especially on the homes in those provinces. Over 1,900 houses damaged in Limpopo and 1,800 damaged in Mpumalanga. And as a result, Jane, the Human Settlements Department has had to give temporary accommodation compensation to those affected, but also now they've had to work for, it's still a temporary plan, but it's more permanent than what residents have been taken through currently. So as things stand, Jane, the Human Settlements Department has had to take people to what would be community halls as well as churches as a temporary measure to accommodate them. But then there's a second phase now that the department has gone into where they're giving temporary emergency accommodation. That is in the form of, the local B&B as well as some of those lodges in the areas that haven't been affected by the floods. But the department can only keep people there for about 30 days according to its policy. So they've now introduced a third step, which is the temporary residential units. And those are being built currently in Limpopo and Mpumalanga. And that's where residents are going to be housed going forward. Now, while that is still a temporary measure, Joan, what often happens in instances like this, we saw it in the Eastern Cape as well, people end up living there permanently because they've lost their houses. And so the minister has been speaking about potentially more long-term plans, and that's why she's coupled today's briefing with the launch of this IBTs. They're called innovative building technologies, which are these buildings, houses that are being built in a way that will be able to withstand these weather conditions. And they're meant to be a solution that is more durable, but also can be built more timelessly.
And obviously this is to speed up housing delivery as well, long-term, undo the apartheid era spatial planning.
Absolutely. It's also to deal with the issues around the informal settlements that we have in places. I know Johannesburg and Pretoria, Gauteng has an informal settlement crisis. So the department is going about building these houses in order to move people from those informal settlements to place them in those houses. And they are, I must say, very ambitious about the plans that they have, Jane, speaking about wanting to start rolling those houses out at the beginning of April. They say the mapping process should be done by the end of this financial year, which is also in April. And they're saying that this is going to help or start alleviating the pressure in areas like Yukskay Park, as we've seen, where there's people that have built, or Yukskay River, I should say, in the Yukskay River in Alexandra Township, the people that have built on the riverbanks. And in areas like that, they're going to be addressing the housing crisis there. So they're saying they're going to start rolling out these IBTs at the beginning of April, and they're even having a summit next month in order to address and to almost speak about this rollout plan.
Gosh, that sounds ambitious, doesn't it? Did we get a confirmation of how many people have been affected? I mean, we know how many homes have been destroyed, but what numbers are we looking at, people-wise? And also what was mentioned about fixing infrastructure? I mean, it's not just homes, is it?
Yes. So, I mean, because this was a briefing by the Human Settlements Department, which is dealing more with the homes, which deals mostly with the homes. The numbers that they were able to give, Jane, are more around the structures as well as the deaths. We know that the death toll currently still sits at 18 in Limpopo and 20 in Mpumalanga. There's also 5 people that are still missing, or 6 people actually. That number has gone up to 6, where the people are still missing in Limpopo and in Mpumalanga. But in terms of infrastructure, Jane, after the decision to classify the severe weather conditions as a national disaster, all the spheres of government have now had to come together. So this is local government, provincial government, and national government having to come together to formulate a plan. And that's why yesterday we saw the Justice Department coming out to speak about how the courts have also been affected by the flood situation, and they have asked Public Works to intervene. And I think that's what a number of the departments will be doing, approaching Public Works to intervene in helping to build the structures that are not homes. And so the homes are directly human settlements, and that's why the minister today was limited to the homes in her briefing. But I do understand that Public Works is being approached by a number of departments, including Justice, to help build other structures that have been severely affected.
As it should do. I mean, it must be a holistic approach, right? Khmotso Modise, thank you very much.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
So this flooding in Limpopo and Mpumalanga is obviously fueling serious health risks, especially for the vulnerable community. Standing water is increasing the threat of malaria, while contaminated water and damaged sanitation systems are raising the risk of waterborne diseases. So how bad is it? What are we looking at on the ground? Professor Carody Wright is Chief Specialist Scientist within the Environment and Health Research Unit at the South African Medical Research Council. Very good afternoon to you. What are we seeing at the moment?
Thanks for having me, and hi to your audience, Jane. Yeah, so our concerns are really around the people who have lost loved ones, people who are worried for loved ones. Of course, the mental health concerns arise in that case, but also people who have wounds, so skin infections, and potential also for respiratory infections. But as the days go on, the likelihood of perhaps seeing waterborne diseases, so things like diarrheal disease, cholera, and others, could become a concern. And so we really need to keep a tight eye on the situation, which is also difficult given that people cannot access healthcare facilities necessarily in all places.
Yes, tell me about that. How hard is it to access these facilities? What is being done in the meantime to get the help to people that is needed?
Right. So, the difficult thing, of course, is the water having, taken away infrastructure and roads, which really are, as you've been saying before, in much need of repair and reinforcement, makes it very difficult for people to access healthcare. I think that there are some services being deployed, mobile services, where they are able to access people to provide care. But people must really consider, think carefully before going anywhere that you will be on a safe route. Don't put yourself at danger if you are seeking healthcare, and try and look out for or hear about the mobile services instead.
What sort of injuries are you seeing that have been sustained during the evacuations, and how concerned are you that if those injuries aren't treated, they could well become infected?
Right. So I haven't been on the ground, unfortunately, as much as I would have liked to have been. I haven't. But the kinds of concerns that we have are things around skin and soft tissue injuries that can happen following trauma. The worry then is that these may have bacterial causes, the staphylococcus, and of course any of the less common water-dwelling organisms that then can lead to fungal infections. And of course, this is something that we have to worry about. So people should keep a track of what's going on with their wounds. Don't keep it covered for the next week. Please keep an eye on it. If it starts to get different or change, and it's painful or very hot, please do try and seek care.
So I'd like to hear more about the prevention measures and, what are the red flags and what needs to be taken for malaria or to prevent any waterborne diseases.
It's difficult to say. So the diarrheal diseases that we would see, you typically experience diarrhea. If that diarrhea is persistent, you definitely need to seek care. And the main thing then is to stay rehydrated before you've been able to get care. So water, and I realize as much as there's so much water on the ground, it's not safe. So water that is available, you need to try and boil it to remove any of the elements that might be in it, as well as dirt. So really drinking water until you can get access to care. In terms of malaria, I'm not exactly sure how soon we might start to see an increase, if at all, cases of malaria in the coming days or weeks. But if anyone is experiencing, has thought they've been bitten by a mosquito, experiencing headache, lethargy, and general feeling of unwell, please do seek care.
And seek care now. Professor Carody Wright, good to talk to you. Thank you for that update. Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
This year is the year. I'll be catching flights and not feelings. Serving looks Monday to Sunday. 5 a.m. club. Small things. I'll be awake before a Hadida can even say, This year things are gonna change.
Okay, so what would you like to order then?
Just hit me with the usual. Kota chicken, single chips, and a roll.
Oh, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Get the Nando's flame grilled quarter chicken, single chips and roll for only 82 Rand. Nando's. Oh, what a place.
Psst. Hey, no longer feeling like the man you used to be? The man who introduces himself and people say, I know. The fact is, 95% of men with low testosterone go untreated. Vitalamin High Performance Supplements for men helps recharge energy, regain lean muscle, and reload performance. Available at all good pharmacies and vitalamin.co.za. Vitalamin. Don't get older. Get better.
The Outsurance Pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car full of groceries and a lady who will be attempting to make her mother-in-law's famous recipe for the family dinner tonight.
5 mils of sugar.
The Outsurance Pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's butterflies and a potential bonding moment. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance Pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Because this journey is better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
Good afternoon. I just saw online the dashcam footage from the truck that collided with the Scholar Transport taxi. And it's clear that the taxi driver was very much in the wrong. He was facing oncoming traffic and the truck had no chance to brake. So really, I don't know why the government is charging this driver with culpable homicide. It should be murder. But anyway, as I said, these accidents will continue as long as legislation is not tightened up and enforcement is zero to non-existent. Well, something really needs to change in South Africa, especially with the driving system and licensing and everything. Eddie from Centurion.
And you're right, Eddie. It has to change. I mean, we know. We don't have to have these talking shops. We know what the problems are across so many different levels of this country, and action needs to be taken. No more talking. Yes, that I don't know if you've seen the images from that dashcam. It's pretty disturbing. Now, advocates have been marching under the banner of March on a March. They say basic education rights in South Africa under threat. The focus is on the fact that at least 66 learners remain unplaced at Addington Primary School in Durban. That's just weeks into the school year, and Nhlanhla Mabaso is on the ground with some of the protesters. And tell us more about what their concerns are.
Well, mostly they're raising concern about the registration of students, or pupils rather. What they are saying is that a lot of the children that enrolled at the Addington Primary School are mainly children of foreign nationals, and that's the argument made by the movement itself. March in March alongside Operation Tudula and the Umkhonto Wesizwe Party, but the main march was by March in March. So they went to the school last week, you'd recall, where there were violent clashes between the parents of the pupils who are registered at the school and the protesters, saying that they have a list, and in that list they said they had that most of the learners that were registered at the school are of foreign nationals, something which the Department of Education has today disputed. But what we saw today, we saw public order police deployed in their numbers, armored cars also brought in, including a water tanker that's usually used to disperse protesting people, to maintain order at the school. They were singing and chanting, but they also brought in a number of pupils that the Department of Education said it was wrong for them to do so, but took them inside. Well, intriguingly, the AC for Education, Siphohlo Muga, was nowhere to be seen. Apparently, he's attending a Likhutla in Gauteng that's called by the Minister of Education, Sizwe Gwakube. Now, the person who was sent was Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, who then spoke with the media saying that, Jane, this has been addressed. He confirmed that there was a letter given to Councillor Lushaba of eThekwini Municipality, who then took it to the Department of Education, and that all those who were in that list were now being enrolled. But what we saw today was another group, and the department did confirm that indeed, while there are some foreign nationals, a lot of those have proper documentation, but 10 of them don't, Jane.
All right, in Nhlanhla Mbaso, let's leave it there, talking about the March on March, targeting again illegal immigrants and just saying that they're pushing South Africans out of schools. We know that it's not just an illegal immigrant problem, but it's a placement problem that we're seeing across many parts of the country. Another big problem here is getting South African children to read and write and count in their early years. It's been called a national emergency. That's how bad it is. And we've got a Likhutla happening underway in Gauteng at the moment, focusing on the education sector. Alpha Rameshwana is there. Alpha, tell us more about the problems that have been identified and what's been suggested.
Good afternoon, John. So the Basic Education Department is having its basic education Likhutla at the Birchwood Hotel in Boksburg today. And the department over the past year really has been focusing largely on improving early childhood development in South Africa. And today, that was really the focus, on improving early childhood development, really from birth to the age of about 7 years old. The department is encouraging parents to enroll their children in basic early childhood development centers. They believe that this improves their literacy at a young age. And we also had the President Cyril Ramaphosa delivering the keynote address today, saying that the earlier your child goes to early childhood development, the better that it is for them when they are in primary and high school. He also believes that in the future, South Africa will begin to see a higher matric pass rate year by year because of basic education, early childhood development rather. So he believes that the quicker children go to these development centers, the better that they'll perform in primary and high school. Let's take a listen to what the president had to say.
By investing in early childhood education, our country can foster greater communities, support equitable access to education, and promote lifelong success for all children. Those children would most probably not be susceptible to dropping out at school at a later stage. We must prioritize real-time programs on reading and literacy so that we do not wait 5 years to understand whether we are making progress or not.
Again, he's highlighting what we know, so let's hope that this is nothing more than just a talk shop. I know that he also touched on the tragedy that was experienced on Monday, the loss of life of those 12 students.
Yes, of course. I mean, it's still quite fresh. And, you know, South Africa is still mourning the death of those 12 children who died in a scholar transport in Vanderbijl Park earlier this week. And the president really emphasizing that it is painful for any parent to lose their children, especially in such a manner. He says that South Africa and government at large shouldn't just ignore this and should draw some lessons from the accident. He says that South Africa should now consider a public transport system for children and scholars, saying that they need this yellow school bus that we've seen in America, that they need to also adopt a similar manner of taking children to school. Let's take a listen to what the president had to say.
And we wish those who were injured in the bus, in the crash, a speedy recovery. Children are not meant to be buried by their parents. Parents are the ones who should bury their children. Or children must bury their parents, rather. We cannot accept that young lives are put at risk in such a horrific way as they seek the growth and enrichment that an education should provide them. And we cannot let this tragedy just pass.
No, we cannot. It really is a country in mourning. Alpha Rameshwana, thank you. It's 12:30, time for the news headlines.
Thanks, Jane. Good afternoon. As the country continues to mourn the tragic deaths of 12 learners in a scholar transport accident in Vanderbijl Park, President Cyril Ramaphosa says no parent should ever have to lose a child in such a manner. The learners lost their lives on Monday after the minibus transport they were travelling in collided with a truck in Vanderbijl Park. Preliminary investigations indicate that the 22-year-old driver was attempting to overtake on a narrow road when the crash occurred. Western Cape Premier Alan Winde is meeting with his cabinet today to address a deepening water crisis in Knysna and recent wildfires across the Cape Winelands and Overberg districts. The Provincial Cabinet is receiving updates on wildfire response efforts as fire crews have been kept busy battling blazes in the Cape Winelands and Overberg regions. The fires have burned tens of thousands of hectares of land, threatened farms, homes and infrastructure. And European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says Europe is fully prepared to act if necessary over the US's Greenland tariffs threat. Yesterday, French President Emmanuel Macron said the EU could consider a series of retaliatory options, including a trade bazooka. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 1 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Tolagele Mganga. Cedric Kaze has called on his Kaizer Chiefs players to be more clinical in front of goal. This follows their slender win over Golden Arrows in the Bedway Premiership last night. Aidan McCarthy scored the winner as Amakosi moved up to third spot. That's 2 points behind leaders Mamelodi Sundowns. But more worryingly, they've managed to score just more than one goal in their last 4 league games.
I didn't say that is a concern as long as I have 3 points, but it's true that we need to make more out of the opportunities that we get and the situations, the interesting situations that we got. But I believe as well it's something that gonna come with time, with confidence. But as well, it's true that we need a killer instinct.
Pep Guardiola believes that nothing is going Manchester City's way after they suffered a surprise 2-1 loss to Bodo Glimt in the UEFA Champions League. That result means their record since the start of the year stands at 2 wins from their 7 games, and those victories only came in the FA and Carabao Cup.
Of course we lost. Everything started to be since the new year again, many things, and I know how good a team they are. I don't underestimate them no matter no, but the semi-final last season Europa League, and they were fresh in mind, and we arrived in some departments, without important players, and they are a little bit fragile as they were last season in certain period.
And Carlos Alcaraz, Coco Gauff and Irina Sabalenka have secured the victories that have seen them progress to the third round of the Australian Open. Emma Raducanu's day ended in disappointment after she was beaten by Anastasia Potapova 7-6 and 6-2. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour, looking good on our roads, and no accidents have been reported or any heavy delays in both Gauteng and the mother city. At this stage in Joburg, look out for those faulty traffic lights. That's in 4 ways at Witkoppen and Leslie. Traffic lights still not working in Polshof at Witkoppen and Main, as well as in Forest Town at Oxford and the M1 in the mother city. Traffic lights out of order in Philippi at the R300 and Jacks Gerwel Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
At Isuzu, we know every delivery, every kilometer, and every load is building something bigger. This truck month, set your business up for success with special deals across the Isuzu N and F-Series ranges. Don't get left behind. Speak to your Isuzu truck specialist or call 08600 Isuzu and secure your truck month deal today. Isuzu, with you for the long run. T's and C's apply.
A man driven to the edge. I don't know where you are. I don't know who you're with. When his beloved takeaway was taken away. I will look for you. I will find you. And I will eat you.
It's the summer of stars at Simply Asia. Stand a chance to win a Toyota Starlet when you spend 200 Rand or more on our famous flavors. Order now. Simply Asia. Connecting the Thai way.
Small businesses are anything but small. They're the backbone of our communities. The dreamers, the doers, the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward. That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them in the spotlight. Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m., catch Small Business Focus with Capitec, where we showcase the hustle, heart, and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone. Small Business Focus with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m. on 702. Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP 46669.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Hi, good afternoon, Jane. I'm surprised that you didn't mention the fires in the Western Cape. I'm just staggered that we haven't had a state of emergency or disaster declared down here. I don't know. I hope it's not politics at play, but we definitely in a state of disaster. A lot of people have lost lives, livelihoods, and this will impact them for years to come.
And we're going to be talking about that in a couple of minutes because Alan Windy has been talking about the Knysna water crisis and the fires that we've seen in the Western Cape, which just seem to get worse every single year. Human error, some of them deliberate infrastructure problems. It really is a crisis that needs to be tackled. Let's focus now, though, on the Knysna water crisis. I'm Jane Dutton, by the way, and if you want to send a voice message, the number is 072 702 1702 or 072 567 1567. So the Democratic Alliance believes that this water crisis in Knysna is avoidable and that politics is responsible, or petty politicking is responsible for this. Let's bring in Ryan Smith, DA constituency head in Knysna. Very good afternoon to you, Ryan. I believe you believe this is a man-made but avoidable crisis.
Yes, hi Jane, and good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners. It's absolutely a political crisis, and let me just say from the outset that when residents are facing a water shortage, water is a basic human right. We really need to work together in a crisis mode to make sure that we can address the problem. But in terms of democratic accountability and figuring out what went wrong, over the long term, you have to look at the politics and you have to look at the executive administration. And what we've seen in Knysna's case is that the municipality has been dragging its feet. They've been in a constant state of denial for, I'd say, the last few months, despite warnings from the Western Cape government, despite warnings from the Garden Route District municipality. And they haven't actually grappled with the problem in the way that they should have. And so there's definitely a problem from the top down in terms of the political leadership, which is, Knysna is governed by an ANC coalition, and there's been no proactive measures or no foresight actually to address the water crisis and prepare Knysna for it adequately. So there's definitely a political problem at stake.
Why the denial? Why can't they get their heads around it? What is holding them back?
I think first and foremost, you have to look at the infrastructure spend. So the DA was in a coalition with the PA from 2021 until 2022 when the PA decided to pull out of the coalition and side with the ANC. And what we saw was a drastic reprioritization of the infrastructure spend. When the DA had a majority 10 years prior to 2021, there were large investments in the extraction pumps at the Charlesford pump station, in the main arterial pump replacement in the Knysna CBD and at the heads. And because there was water in the dams at the time, the priority wasn't to look at the leaks. When we came in 2021, we turned towards addressing the leaks because Knysna at the moment is losing up to 50% of its water from leaky pipes. So that's a really big issue that needs to be addressed. And unfortunately, when the ANC coalition came in, they changed the budget allocation entirely. We don't know where the money for that infrastructure spend has actually gone. We know that when the MEC has come and asked questions about pump stations that were meant to be built with province's money, that they had no answers. And so there are very many question marks as to what the spending priorities have been under the current ANC-led administration. And the infrastructure MMC is actually from the Patriotic Alliance, Beauty Charlie. And I've seen that when Knysna's been in severe water crises where water tankers have had to be brought in, she was attending a party political event in Port Elizabeth. So there's no political will or sense of care really from the current administration as to Knysna's water woes.
Okay, well, I mean, nothing's going to change anytime soon from a political point of view. What can be done now? I mean, how much time does Knysna have?
Look, we're looking at the moment at, I mean, the estimation is that the town will run out of water within the next week to few days. The province and the Garden Route District Municipality, which are DA run, have been very proactive. I know that the last time I spoke to the district mayor, he said that they were fast-tracking signing the disaster declaration. And if I'm not mistaken, the Western Cape Cabinet is meeting shortly to do the same. We obviously respect the barrier between party and state, so I let the executive do what they need to do. But we as the DA are just preparing to assist the residents on the ground. So when the water tankers with the province's money hopefully come into the town, we will assist with the dissemination of water. We need to make sure that there's no hogging of resources, because we see in emergencies like this that people tend to fight over water because of the scarcity. And so really it's now just to assist the residents. The most important thing now is ensuring that residents have access to water. That's the basic human right in terms of the Constitution, regardless of political affiliation. So that's the short-term problem. But, you know, residents inside and outside of Knysna must remember that there are political, or there should be political consequences for the inept management of local municipalities. Because if you look at neighboring municipalities in Knysna, in fact, George, which is right next door, received less rain than Knysna. But because it's addressed leakages in pipes and because it has an adequate water management strategy, it's not facing the similar or even near similar circumstances as Knysna is.
All right, Ryan Smith, good to talk to you. We're going to find out now what Alan Winde has been saying about this. Thank you.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
So Ntuntuzelo Nene has been at that briefing where Alan Winde has been talking about the Knysna water crisis as well as the fires. Let's start off with the water crisis. What's been said there?
Good afternoon, Jane. The briefing actually is tomorrow. After the cabinet meeting, which is expected to take place today to tackle the two major challenges that are facing the province, which is the ongoing water crisis in Knysna and the devastating fires that have swept through parts of the Cape Winelands and the Overberg districts. As you have heard, water security remains a serious concern for several municipalities along the Garden Route, with Knysna being the most under severe strain. The issue there, can be attributed to prolonged dry conditions, the aging infrastructure, as we've just heard, and the rising demand. All of these issues, Jane, have placed strain on local water systems in that town and prompting urgent intervention from provincial authorities, as now we've heard that the cabinet is meeting to discuss these issues. The water shortages in Knysna have had a very, severe impact on residents and businesses alike. The provincial government at that meeting is seeking a formal disaster classification. We will only hear tomorrow at that briefing whether or not this town will be declared a provincial disaster area. And if it is, this will help unlock additional resources and allow for faster emergency responses to support the municipality itself. And at the same time, the Cabinet will also be receiving updates on the recent fires that tore through the Cape Winelands and the Overberg districts, leaving a trail of destruction across farmland and infrastructure in those regions. and firefighting teams and disaster management officials have been kept busy in the past few weeks battling these wildfires. There's still a wildfire raging in the Franschhoek area for 5 days now, and assessments are underway to determine the full extent of the damage. Here's Premier Ellen Windy speaking about the situation in Knysna.
Knysna has had for years now some serious water troubles, and of course right now with a very dry season they have got some serious trouble. They do not have sufficient water in their system. They've got days worth of water left. I must say that the news of the plan says that they're actually now starting to get it right. They're going to have borehole systems putting 4.5 kilolitres of water into the system every day. They've reduced their water usage down now nearly to 8 kilolitres of water a day, and they'll be looking at more water coming in from the various systems, some springs, some new boreholes, so that we can make it sustainable. That's about declaring the disaster if it's necessary and making sure that we get through this crisis.
All right, that was Premier Alan Windy talking about the water crisis in Knysna. So tomorrow we'll get a more in-depth update on the water crisis and the fires raging through the Western Cape.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one, get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand. When you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Specs and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Kick off to glory with Hollywood Bets and Aziz Shege. Be in the game. Go full speed ahead with the epic competition. You stand to win a share of 4 million Rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Bet 10 Rand or more on any soccer fixture or fixtures online or at your nearest branch. Live life in the fast lane. Bet now for your chance to score. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent and a nervous but excited kid practicing her lines to put on a show-stopping performance at the school play. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a future superstar on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Because this journey is better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Jane Dutton. Now, the Constitutional Court has ruled that an anti-nuptial contract signed after a customary marriage is invalid. So, in simple terms, once a customary marriage exists, it carries legal consequences from that moment. Couples cannot later change the marriage regime by signing an anti-nuptial contract unless a court formally approves it. So the judgment reinforces the legal status of customary marriages and closes a loophole that has often disadvantaged women when relationships break down. I don't know if something like this affects you, if you are aware of it, and if you want to send us your thoughts on this topic. The number is 072 702 1702 or 072 567 1567. On the line, we've got Sibongile Ndashe, Executive Director, the Initiative for Strategic Litigation in Africa. Very good afternoon to you. What does this ruling change in real terms for couples already in customary marriages?
What it does, so good afternoon, Jane. What it does is makes it clear that customary marriage has the same status as other marriages that are concluded in the country. That when you change a proprietary regime, so the regime that governs the property in the marriage, you have to get it sanctioned by the High Court. You cannot just sign an agreement between the two of you. So what the Constitutional Court said today it's that antenuptial contract will be invalid. So this brings customary marriages in line with other civil marriages, that when you have a contract or a decision to change your marital regime, it must be through a notarially executed contract that is then confirmed by the court. And that's the only way that you can change the proprietary regime of a marriage.
I should imagine this is going to be a relief for many, and I suspect that it affects women a lot.
Of course, it does. In this case, those were the facts of the case, right? Because what happens is this marriage was changed from a marriage that had consequences of a marriage in community of property, which means that everyone is entitled to half of whatever it is in the estate.
Mm-hmm.
So what it does now is, so in that instance, the husband sought to change the proprietary consequences by changing this marriage from in community of property to out of community of property with accrual, which means that the property that you came with to the marriage belongs to you, and then you are only entitled to split what accrues during the course of the marriage. So the big question here really was about when the person entered into a marriage in 2011, they knew that they were in community of property, but the property was never split when they decided to change the proprietary regime. And so now she is left without much, and this relationship is now ending, again. She came in legally protected, and throughout the course of the relationship, through this contract, she lost her rights. So the court is saying this should not be possible. And of course, it's important to understand that this happens in a marital relationship, and in a marital relationship, there are things that are sometimes taboo when there isn't equal kind of bargaining power, where someone cannot say that they are not willing, to sign a contract because it makes them look greedy, something else. So it really does protect women.
And does this, do you think, open the door to retrospective legal challenges in divorce or inheritance cases?
So for people who had already lost because of this contract.
Correct.
Okay. I'm just clarifying your question.
Yes.
You mean people who had already lost property because of this?
Correct, yes.
I am not sure if the order applies, retrospectively, to people who have been here.
Okay.
But it's also unclear what the prevalence, of this practice, was or has been in the country. There are a whole range of other challenges which many people are sitting with, like a ticking bomb, when it comes to unregistered customary marriages. Many people believe that the customary marriage is not a real marriage because for a very long time, customary marriages were not recognized. So even though now we are sitting at year number 26 after the Recognition Act came into being, many people still do the customary marriage just like as a pre-marriage step and then go get married civilly. And so what happens is that they're actually married twice. And so some people believe that the customary marriage was not a real marriage. And then the one that is real is the one where they have a marriage certificate because they got married in church or at the magistrate's office.
Yes.
So this is the problem that people are sitting with, because then they think they are married out of community of property, but the proprietary regime that exists is the one of the first marriage. Okay. And then there are also those ones who never proceeded to get married, so the relationship breaks down after the lobola negotiations.
Sibongile and Dashe, I'm very sorry, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you for talking to us about this important development. Executive Director, Initiative for Strategic Litigation in Africa.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. So why wait? Sign up to become a Better Rewards member today and support with every swipe. Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Let's talk about one of the most punishing endurance challenges on Earth. The South African Ocean Mavericks have crossed the finish line in one of it. After more than a month alone on the Atlantic, the four-man crew rowed nearly 5,000 kilometers from the Canary Islands to Antigua. And we've got all four of them on the line. Martin Hall, JP Brunner, I hope that's correct, Angelo Wilkie-Page and Matt Buerter. Very good. What's the time where you are? Super early, I believe.
Yeah, just before 7 o'clock, 6 hour difference.
Well, thank you for getting out of bed for us. Though I should imagine you've been quite exhausted after that feat.
Yeah, it's been good to have more than an hour and a half sleep. Yeah, so it's been fantastic. Okay,
you're gonna have to say who's talking, because I believe all four.
Sorry, it's JP speaking at the moment.
JP. Okay, so tell us about one of you, any of you. Tell us about this experience and why you took it on.
So yeah, it's JP again. So it's a race. It happens annually. It's from La Gomora, which is the Canary Islands, across to Antigua. It's a self-supported rowing race. So the guys do it individually, pairs, trios, or fours. We tackled the race with four of us on board. Yeah, so it was it's a 5,000 kilometer row, and we tackled it. We researched the hardest endurance that we could find, and this popped up, and we've been following it. Personally, I've been following it for the last 10 years. And then we signed up 2 or 3 years ago, and yeah, we finally made it happen.
What was the hardest bit about it?
I think we all had different parts. For me personally, the sleeping aspects of it, just been waking up. So what we do is we row 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 24 hours a day, and that's your shift pattern. So we were probably getting about 3 hours in total sleep a day. So yeah, the sleep aspect and just the sleep deprivation was for me personally the hardest part of it. Yeah, one of the other boys can talk about what they've experienced.
It's the brutality, the monotony of it. It's you get out there and you row 2-3 days and your body doesn't know what's happening to it, but it's a whole lot of fuss bait, and you go through 4 or 5 days and your body goes, what on earth is going on? And then it says, okay, I can do this. But then it goes, okay, well, just let me know when I can have a rest, like just a little break. And that little break never, ever, ever comes. It goes into day 6, day 7, day 8, day 9, and your body really starts questioning what on earth is going on. And that rolls into day 10, 11, 12. And it never, ever, ever stops. That pattern never, ever stops.
I mean, just reading about this challenge was exhausting, and I'm so sorry that we've run out of time, that we had such little time to talk about this, because it is 1 o'clock and time for the news. But gentlemen, thank you very much for talking to us, and congratulations on your extraordinary success. The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock time.
This is EWN.
President Ramaphosa mourns the loss of 12 Vanderbilt Park learners, and the Western Cape government meets to address ongoing crippling crises. Good afternoon, I'm Mikey Malapo. As the country continues to mourn the tragic death of 12 learners in a